everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress, of a podcast about movies, TV shows, video games, and lots of pop culture nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today, and with me, per usual, he's back. We missed him last week, but he's back. Brian, aka the Beard, and also Mr. Negative on a Dragon Ball Z Redemption arc. Brian, how you doing, man? We missed you last week.
I exist. I'm here. I'm there. I'm everywhere. No, but I did miss you guys. I know you talked about a really shitty movie, so that's pretty cool. But I'm here this week.
Yeah, real quick. Did you watch it at all?
I did watch it. I did not like it. I thought it was very boring. It took me multiple sittings to actually get through it because I did not find it interesting in the least bit.
I don't know if you heard us yesterday, last week, but my summary of it when I started was, I feel like I fell asleep, but I never fell asleep watching this movie.
It's one of those things where it's like beautiful. I enjoyed looking at it. That's even kind of false. I enjoyed looking at most of it. I don't even know if I did that. Yeah, I enjoyed looking at most of it, and it was. I'm not looking forward to the second part of that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you go, listeners. There's Brian's Rebel Moon take. Yeah. So it's just me and Brian this week, listeners, and this week we're going to do something that we've similarly done in the past, where there's just some news that came out that we wanted to talk about, and also we're all very busy, so we'll have a bigger, more in detailed main topic next week, hopefully, or in the future at some point.
Come on, bro. You know we don't know how to shut the fuck up. We're gonna make this long as hell.
I was about to say, I'm not even gonna say it's gonna be a mini-sode because I don't trust us, especially not just us. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna hop right into it then, listeners. Brian, should we get into the first segment of the week?
Let's do it.
But as usual, listeners, if you want to skip any time code, any spoilers or skip sections, check the time codes for all that jazz. With that, our first piece of news of the week, Brian. This one was actually from like last week, but I saved it for you because I feel like you care and know the most about this. And this was that apparently there was a Halo Battle Royale type of mode or game that was reportedly canceled. And this is according to Xbox era co-founder Shrapshul_Nick. Don't know anything about that, but I did find that kind of interesting. That, I mean, not surprised, but because everyone wants to do a battle royale. But
right.
Well, I was mostly interested. I was like, I wonder how Brian would feel about this.
So this is a weird article that started coming out fairly recently, because as far as I've known, based on just being like in the space of like Halo events and community, this had been canceled a while ago. So I was kind of confused that it's kind of like actually popped out. I think the reason that they're kind of resurging this comment about it not being a battle royale is because Certain Affinity, who has worked on a lot of the Halo games alongside 343 and also actually helped make some of that multiplayer DLC for Bungie back in the day. So they've always kind of like worked coincided with them. They are, in fact, helping develop a new Halo game that may or may not come out this year, if not next year. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. They're talking about it's not being a battle royale. But no one's expecting Halo to come out this soon, because Halo Infinite is currently, they've just finished up, I guess it'll be their fifth season. And now they're moving from the seasonal kind of like content creation kind of space to moving to a content update, which is like a little bit smaller, but like more often. It's seeming like potentially they might be moving away from supporting Halo Infinite for much longer. Yeah. Which, understandable.
Not that surprising.
Yeah, the game has gotten really, really good compared to what it was when it first came out. But unfortunately, they're just not garnering the audience that they probably want at this point. And it's not possible, I don't think. I don't think they'll ever bring the people back that, played in the beginning and then stopped playing. Right. So
they didn't No Man's Sky it.
Exactly. They're just kind of at a weird odds right now. So that's kind of an interesting thing that I'm looking at. I personally don't care. I play Halo. I play Halo when Halo comes out. I'm not one to like get into the deep weeds when because it's like just as quickly as this could be, not a battle royale, would be a whole new multiplayer experience of Halo. It could just as easily be Halo Wars 3. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
I wouldn't care about it.
I mean, my question would be like, would you want if it were a Halo battle royale, would you want it to be like just purely a battle royale, no campaign, no story, like?
Hot take, don't want a battle royale. I think battle royales are not fun. I think they are overdone, and I think that genre is towards the end of its lifespan. I think if it wasn't for Fortnite's rabid success with doing so much shit outside of the battle royale, it wouldn't exist anymore. And I just think like
Yeah.
outside of that, I just don't think it's an interesting genre anymore. It's giving me the same thing as like MOBAs, like the League of Legends and the Smite 2s and shit like that, where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like I just don't feel like yeah, there's still a space for those games, but I just feel like it's not as big as it used to be. So I don't even think it's worth trying to make a game that late
Right.
in that lifespan for it. So
And my thing with that it would just be like, I don't know. Halo always was weird to me in terms of multiplayer because I mean I know that it's changed now, but like, I feel like everyone just looks like the same dude because you're all just wearing Spartan armor. I know you can like customize a little like more now and have different colors and everything, but like I think that's what makes people flock to the Fortnites and stuff is that
you could be
there's so
Ariana
many
Grande.
different. Exactly, you know what I mean?
And that's tough. I don't know. I'm biased, of course. I still play Halo to this day, and I think the customization is the best it's ever been in this version of Halo. Like you can make your Spartan
Okay,
look so different from what Master Chief looks like these days, and I think
right,
that's really kind of interesting. But of course, you can't just be a different character. You go on Call of Duty, you can be Nicki Minaj. You can also just be
exactly.
a
You could
fucking war hero.
be soldier number 8. Yeah,
Exactly, and same with like Fortnite. Like you can be just Fortnite guy, and you also be a fucking banana with sunglasses on and a fucking 3-piece suit, and it's like that happens in the same game. So I don't know. I
right.
for that I do think that like their actual model when it comes to like buying and selling and all that kind of stuff is a little flawed, and it will probably never be as lucrative as those spaces. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know that I'd love a Halo if I like logged on the Halo and I play as like a stormtrooper. You know what I mean? And that might just be a me thing.
Although that would be kind of sick if they had like stormtrooper styled Halo armor
So that was
though
kind
or
of a thing that I
something.
was
That would be
considering.
sick.
Yeah, it's like maybe don't go so far to like being just like some fucking people, but like be other like
Right.
armored characters
Yeah. Well,
in
like
Halo.
now that I think about it, like Destiny does something similar where like I remember earlier this year, two things. They had like a PlayStation exclusive like skins for all the different guardians you could be that were inspired by like God of War or Horizon or Last of Us, and they were just like specific like almost costume pieces. And then same thing with later on they did some Witcher styled armor that you could have customized. So and that was kind of interesting and kind of cool. I didn't buy it because I'm not putting any real money towards that.
Not a single dollar. Jesus Christ, man. You can give them a couple bucks. Fuck.
Not for a fucking first person shooter. I never customized like that in a first person shooter. It's fucking dumb.
You're right. You're right.
But just for me personally, I just don't like it because I the one person that gets to enjoy it, me, I never get to see it. Yeah, no, that could be something very very interesting. But who knows what the future of Halo is at this point? Besides Halo Season 2, which
Right. Oh,
you know,
which Pablo will not shut the fuck about.
he's been talking a lot of shit.
Yes, he has, and he needs to stop yapping.
So we'll see what happens with Halo. We'll
For
see.
sure.
We'll see. Next piece of news. This one's real quick as had bookmarked this because I knew this would be interesting because I know we all love this movie, aka Barbie. But this is very interesting because this could go into a deeper concept of awards and how meaningful / meaningless they are. But as most of the world probably knows, Barbie's director Greta Gerwig and also star Margot Robbie, both of them did not receive an Oscar nomination for what would imagine best director and best actress. Honestly, I'm mostly upset about the Greta Gerwig one for best director. The Margot Robbie one, I feel like it's fine to me in the sense that her performance was great, but never really like I was never thought like this is the master class.
No,
It's fine, but it's not her fault. I don't think. I think it's just also just the what's written.
no nomination still wild to me. Like even though I don't think she would have won had she been
Yeah.
nominated, just
No.
based on like just
No.
other things that have come out, I just feel like no nomination for the movie that just made like literal history
Yeah.
just feels so weird. And it's just like to do that and then to also have Ryan Gosling get
Nominate Ken is wild. Dude.
yeah, that is like
wild.
we've learned nothing from this space so far based on this so far. So yeah, so I don't know. And it's just like it just always reminds us like who is in those fucking meetings and like looking at this stuff and like, yep, this makes sense. This is perfectly fine. No one would have a problem with this. But
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, I could not believe that when that happened. I was like, that's
yeah.
y'all nominated Ken.
So like that
Not
means
Barbie.
Greta, she didn't get nominated for anything, right? Like she is not.
No, she did. She got nominated for adapted screenplay for the movie, but just not best director.
Yeah,
I mean, like
okay.
just like looking at that movie and all the things that were into it. There's a fucking giant musical number in that movie, and like it's just like, it's really weird. It's really weird to be honest.
Right. Who were the other nominations for like best director for this year?
I don't know because there were obviously Christopher Nolan, who's most likely going to win for Oppenheimer. I don't
Ugh.
remember who the other 4 were.
Who
They
made
were for
more
movies that
money?
I hadn't seen.
Was it Barbie or was it Oppenheimer? Obviously, it was Barbie.
It's just so it's a real interesting, and it's a bit of a bummer, where it seems like, I don't know if we learned from the movie
And then people continue
what
to wonder why no one like watches the Oscars anymore. And it's like you're so fucking
yeah.
tone deaf, and like it. I don't know. It's just so disrespectful to because we know like women don't tend to win a lot. We don't tend to see a lot of women
Mhm.
roles win in the Oscars. We don't see a lot of people of color win in the Oscars. We're just starting to change that a little bit, and even so, then it's still like, oh well, this is the first person that's won in 40 years, and like that's fucking disgusting. That's
Yeah.
despicable. Like
Yeah.
and then we have like a movie that literally changed like the trajectory of movies around that space, and then the only person
Mhm.
we like nominate for like
Was
acting
the
role
dude.
was the one man in there that like had the main role, and it's like Jesus Christ, like what are we doing
And
here,
again,
guys?
like, obviously, this is no knock to Ryan Gosling. We all thought he was fucking. He
He
kind
was
of does steal that
phenomenal.
movie, but that's because an incredibly great written role. Like
Right.
he's the comedic genius in there. Yeah,
Everyone in that movie does so well, so it's really it's tough for
yeah.
that. And even I mean, we saw his nomination, saw his like surprise of it. Even he was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
He sent. Yeah, he even had to post a message about like his disappointment in that neither Margot Robbie nor Greta Gerwig were nominated, because I think it was probably a shock to a lot of people about it.
I just say I really appreciate that because I do think that if we don't, as men, stand up for women, then nothing's actually going to change. Like women can
Yeah.
fight for their rights all they want, and like yes, it is always going to be like important. But
Mm-hmm.
when men aren't checking, like we have to start making women's rights a men's issue. I think
Right.
that's
Right.
really important. It's not a women's issue. It is a human issue. And once
Exactly.
men start realizing that, I think that makes a much more effective
Yeah.
conversation because a lot of times men won't listen to women, but they'll listen to other men.
Right.
So
Right.
that was just a little tired
And I'm
up.
not saying like I don't think either one of them would win the award, but like the
Right.
nomination's kind of nuts. That
I think
nomination's
that's
kind of
still
nuts.
important. Like as much as
Yeah.
we know that this shit doesn't matter, but it's not the fact that it like matters or not. It's like the it's the point of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 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 No. Absolutely. Because we all know when it comes down to it, awards don't mean anything. but
Exactly.
but it's mostly like it's a bummer because they don't mean anything, but we know that they do mean something to a lot of people, and
Exactly.
that's the annoying part. Yeah.
Yeah. Socially, they still exist for a reason and are important
Exactly.
to that context of it. Yeah.
And like it's one of those things where some people that do like really think those are very important could potentially lead you to a future job, and
Right.
that's the annoying part,
Mhm.
is that you need to kind of care because it could affect your career,
Right.
even if you don't care, that the person who might hire you next does care.
Right. 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 Right.
But yeah, so we'll see how that pans out. I kind of hope if Ryan Gosling does win, which would be hilarious. But I mean, I've already said I do love that song. I think it's hilarious and I think it's fun. It's a great number. It should also win for best song of the year because everyone knows what that song is at this point.
I hope he
Um,
wins, and I hope he changes all the lyrics to stuff
I
about Greta
was about to say, do something. He's got to do something.
Gerwig.
But yeah, we'll see. Alrighty. So that is the main chunk of news before we move on. But first, to get to the next section, we gotta hop into that trailer park. So let's go.
Mom's Pacetti.
Alrighty. We're in the trailer park once again. Thank you, Brian, for that. Devin had to cover for you last week. It wasn't
Oh
as
shit,
good,
let's
but we love you,
go.
Devin. He attempted.
Oh no.
No, it was good. It was good. First trailer of the week is for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix live action series. Which, Brian, I know I said it in my predictions, but man, I'm trying real hard not to get hyped for this show after this. I'm trying real hard, man.
This shit look kind of good.
I'm really struggling, dude. I'm trying to hold back. I gotta constantly remind myself, it's Netflix. It's Netflix. Remind myself, it's Netflix. But then this trailer, I'm like, shit looks kind of good, man.
Shit looks kind of good. I'm not mad about it.
I mean, the biggest positive is that comparatively to the only thing we compare it to is that movie. People are actually doing moves and bending, and it's not like the dude does 18 different poses and a tiny rock moves 4 inches like in that movie. This shit, like, ugh.
Yeah, their graphics department, they've stepped it up a little bit. I don't know if they're trying to treat it more akin to like a Stranger Things or something like that, but it seems like they've put real money into this. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying what I've seen so far. Of course, I love the fact that there's people of color in this show. That's
Mm.
super cool because they definitely could have made it a Dragon Ball Evolution where it's just white people or all the cast of
Yeah.
Shameless. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I'm keeping cautiously optimistic. I did hear people like Yu
Yeah.
Hakusho a whole lot. I heard probably
Oh,
like
yeah?
ranked about like maybe a 7 out of 10. But people are that they didn't hate it. I haven't
Wow.
watched it yet.
That's
But
surprising.
yeah, exactly. So maybe they're
'Cause
just getting better. Maybe they've learned from their mistakes finally.
maybe. But I will say, I mean, they did come out with some interviews after this trailer came out that might concern us. They did say that they have changed the way that Aang will use the Avatar state in this series compared to the show. Basically, he's gonna go Super Saiyan, which he does in the show, but they're gonna use it, I think, a lot more sparingly, it sounds like, in this show than maybe in the original, which the only reason that worries me is that because it's like, oh, I just want to know the reasoning why. Is it a budgeting thing? Is it a character thing? Just because from there, it's scary snowball effect that could occur as you continue to do these things. But I don't know. I'm still very excited for the show.
Sure.
I'm trying to hold. I'm trying to
See,
keep calm.
that's interesting. So I'm kind of the opposite of you there, where it's like, yeah, they could 100% be trying to just play off the fact that they had some budgeting issues, so they just wanted to not use it as much. Kind of like a la
Mm.
She-Hulk, where it's like, we just gonna make her a normal person
Right,
sometimes because she
right.
just didn't have the budget. And then maybe trying to play that off. But just remembering the TV show as a whole is like they do kind of use it as like a get out of jail free card pretty often in the show, where it's like whenever there's a really big issue in the show,
Right,
he goes, into Avatar State.
right.
It basically happens like at least twice a season in like the big
Hmm.
like pivotal moments where it's like he can't do it, he turns an avatar, and that's just kind of what
Yeah,
happens. So I'm thinking using that more sparingly might make that feel a little bit less cartoony in the fact that it's like, okay, so we know that every time a big
maybe.
issue happens, this man doesn't have to fucking black out in
Yeah.
order to save the world. Like sometimes he just got some skill. So I'm actually kind of looking
Yeah.
forward to how he might be a little bit more grounded, kind of similar to maybe like The Last of Us, where it's like The Last of Us turned Joel from a superhero to, kind of really just some guy. I think maybe the Avatar maybe
Right.
needs a little bit more of being just some guy sometimes, and like having to
Interesting.
figure out his shit the normal way as opposed to just getting the cheat code of like, yeah, I just fucking my eyes glow and then I win.
Nah, fuck that. I want him to be a superhero all the time.
And that's the thing too.
No.
That's why I'm kind of like at odds with it because it's like sometimes I just like a
Yeah.
character being overpowered. I think that's really interesting.
Right. We're not gonna get any spoilers for the original, but there is a moment where his whole avatar state does become a bit of an issue anyway, so who knows how that will work anyways, but that's future problems. But again, going back to this trailer, we'll see how the continued effects go throughout the entirety of this first season, but cast looks great. Dude, fucking homeboy from Lost, Firelord Ozai is fucking
He looks
ripped.
crazy. Yeah. I was, what the fuck? What do you do?
I was like, damn. He took this shit seriously. Yeah, man. I'm really excited. February 22nd, man. Can't come sooner.
Yeah, it can't come soon enough, honestly.
That is gonna be. We're gonna get that, and then Final Fantasy like a week later. That end of February is gonna be, and
And then
Halo probably a week before that. It's gonna be the greatest 3 weeks ever. No.
yeah, no, Halo comes to the beginning of February. It's February 8th, I believe.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's real soon. Real
Hope
soon.
that doesn't fucking suck.
Gotta fucking get stupid ass Paramount again, I guess.
1 month, baby.
All right, let's move on to our next trailer. This is for the final season of Star Wars: The Bad Batch, the third and final season of that show. I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Bad Batch. There were some parts, again, like most of the Star Wars animated of Clone Wars Rebels. There are some kiddie episodes that I'm like, I don't care, but I understand because it's a show for kids. But I'm very excited that they're not dragging it and that shit in 3, do all this cool story beats and do it all. And then obviously we get the tease at the end of fucking the return of Ventress, a character that a lot of people really enjoyed from the Clone Wars series. She has a pretty cool backstory of being a Jedi, going Sith, working for Dooku, lots of betrayals and whatnot. And she's got a cool hairdo now. She ain't bald no more. She's got a cool haircut.
She got a haircut. Let's fucking
and
go.
and a sick yellow lightsaber.
Yeah. I'm liking that we're playing around with colors some more in like the actual canon storyline because I did really hate the blue and green being the only thing. And then only in the video games you could actually do cool shit.
Right.
Yeah, I feel the same about you with Bad Batch, where I think like, yeah, it gets a little childish, but in whole, I think it's still really good animated media. Still some of the best stuff that Star Wars has put out recently. So I'm excited for this. You know what I mean? I hope that it's as good as the last 2 seasons that I've watched so far.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that obviously Dave Filoni. I'm assuming he's writing some, or if not at least the finale of this. I hope his commitment to Ahsoka didn't distract him to write a good show.
Right.
For the
That's
show.
what's supposed to be. Yeah, no, I'm very interested in this, and I hope that it ends well.
I mean, because Clone Wars and Rebels both had great finales, and so I hope he's a 3 for 3 in terms of these animated shows.
For sure.
That starts soonish. I think it's gonna end on May 1st. So reverse math. I think there's gonna be 15 episodes.
Yeah, it starts
Yeah.
end of February, like everything else.
Bro, man, February's gonna be packed. Damn. Good lord. All righty, let's move on to our final trailer of the week. This is for Amazon's weird. I'm going to Amazon. Roadhouse, the remake
Roadhouse
of the Patrick Swayze movie, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and fucking Conor McGregor as the villain, which is fucking hilarious.
Listen, if you had just told me about this, I wouldn't give a single fuck about this. This wouldn't matter to me at all. Seeing the trailer, this shit looks like it kind of slaps, to be honest. It looks
could be
really
fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like, you said it off pod before we recorded. Like, this could be like a fresh Fast and Furious type of deal where it's like grounded, 2 dudes slugging it out, some dumb like, it could be some good vibes.
Yeah, it's definitely giving me some Fast and Furious vibes or something of that nature. Conor McGregor looking like he might have a little bit of acting chops, better than I expected. Like, he did not look awkward on that screen.
Yeah, like I feel like he plays a character in real life, so I would imagine it's not that hard to play a character on screen. So he's just being a typical douche, He's yeah. So it looks fun. The action in this trailer looked good. Interesting that's going just to Amazon. I did see that the director of this movie is boycotting his own movie because it's not going to theaters.
Oh shit, I didn't know. That sucks.
Yeah,
it looks like it could be like I don't know that'll make a whole lot of money. Jake Gyllenhaal will have to carry the shit out of that movie.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's interesting. I was like, damn, I don't like how comfortable companies are doing that. Of like, nah, fuck it.
Right, because it's gonna suck if it becomes like a really big hit after that, and it's like, well, shit, we should have put it in theaters. Fuck.
Especially it was like it's a big movie with fucking Jake Gyllenhaal. I feel like that just his name, and people see shirtless Jake Gyllenhaal, they'll flock to the theaters.
And boy got ripped for this movie. I feel like I saw clips for this a long time ago.
I thought that was like 4 years ago when they're like, Jake Gyllenhaal went to an MMA ring to shoot a movie. I was like, this was a million years ago.
Because I remember, especially when he did like the weigh-in pose, of course. It's like, I remember seeing that a long time ago. Or like, because that was pretty iconic. Where it's like, oh shit, Jake Gyllenhaal got fit again. Goddamn. Okay, so I'm not crazy.
No, you're not. I was so confused as well. I was like, why? How long have they been making this movie?
Right, so we did all that to put a fucking movie on Amazon Prime. Man, COVID really fucked people. Goddamn.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks fun. I'm kind of excited for it.
But yeah, I wasn't excited till I saw this trailer. Now I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely watch this when it comes out.
Right? Hell yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, he's got a mushy face, but he looks cool in this movie. I'm into
it. He does, and he pulls the action off well enough. He's the Prince of Persia. All right, let's moving on. That is the trailer park, which means that is the news. But our main topic is still kind of newsy. But to do that first, though, we have to head into a brand new fortress this week. Brian, let's do that. And we're trapped. This is a fortress. A little somber, pretty sad, quite empty. In fact, it's a really empty fortress. Not to make a joke out of some light out of the terrible stuff that's happening when we feel bad. But yeah, we're in the fortress of.
Find another job in IT and don't work in game dev.
Oh yeah, bro, man. Yeah, that's
we're in the fortress of game dev layoffs. Sorry.
Yeah, listeners. If we thought last year we talked about layoffs a lot, apparently this year we're gonna continue that conversation. Sadly, so yeah, Microsoft this past week had just like one of the biggest layoffs in video game history, I would imagine. They cut 1,900 staff from its video game workforce.
Oof.
Yeah.
I got so much to say, and I don't even know where to start because there's so much information in just even this part of it. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the fact that we had about 10,000 game dev layoffs in 2023, despite obviously 2023 being one of the best years of gaming probably since 2007. as far as like, you know, money
Right.
in, quality of game, things like that. Like we really had a really, really good year of 2023. That comes for multiple reasons. A lot of games did get delayed because of COVID. We know we've been struggling with that for the past 4 years, things of that nature. So a lot of games came out in 2023, and a lot of really good games came out in 2023. That aside, we still saw 10,000 game devs lose their jobs, which is just crazy. In any other industry, that would be so mind-boggling. Because like
Yeah.
we're like everyone would be like, "What the fuck happened? What did we do?" Which we'll get into some of
Right.
the reasons why that kind of happened. But we're currently still in the month of January 2024, and we've already
It's
had 5,600 layoffs in game dev. So we're already over halfway of what we saw in 2023, and it is not even February yet.
and this was almost half.
This was
around
almost
mark.
half just from Activision Blizzard. So one big thing about that, of course, is we do know that if a company gets bought out, there's any kind of merger, things like that, there are going to be redundancy.
Right.
I hate that that's a thing and that exists, but that is just kind of a normal thing. When Truist, when there was the merger of BB&T and like SunTrust, for example, to make Truist Bank.
Yeah.
You can't have two CEOs. You can't have two HR departments. It just doesn't make sense. People are going to lose their job, and it's usually going to be the bigger company of the two that keeps their people, as opposed to the smaller company. That's just kind of the nature of it. So that's expected, but at the same time, that's not what happened here, and that's what's kind of so sad about this situation, because 1,900 people are not just redundancy hires.
That's
yeah, right, exactly. So I guess that's the big thing we kind of want to talk about is like also like the president of Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, was, you know, bought by Microsoft late this year after going through the fucking gauntlet of whether or not this was a monopoly, and then laying off these people right after that. I don't even know where I want to start with this. One big thing is like Mike Ybarra, the president, he left. Also, the what was the title? It was Alan Adam. He was the chief design officer and co-founder of actual Blizzard. He's been working there since basically the 90s. He also left in regards to this, and I bet that was probably some redundancy stuff too. He left as opposed to getting fired because, you know, you get a better payout for that.
Right.
Why did this happen?
Yeah.
All right, I hate just making like a straight monologue or whatever, but I do think it's kind of like an interesting thing to kind of go for. What kind of makes me mad about Activision Blizzard as a whole was how excited everybody was the fact that this merger happened, including the employees. I do know a decent amount of people that work for Activision Blizzard, or worked, asterisk, because they don't anymore. And an interesting thing about that is the fact that one issue with this is within 4 months of them being acquired, of course, Activision Blizzard was fighting really hard to get people back in the office. And that happened, you know, probably summer of last year, to get people. So that means a lot of people that got hired during COVID weren't living in Irvine, California, which is where Activision Blizzard is stationed. And they were kind of forced to be like, well, you lose your job or you come and move to Irvine, California. Despite classically, I've talked about Activision Blizzard so much on this podcast, but they're pretty low paying as far as game dev goes, in regards to it. In Irvine, California, average apartment is about $2,400 for a 1-bedroom. Whereas average game dev salary was $17 an hour for QA. So those people literally could not afford to live in Irvine, California. No. So that happened. No. So a lot of people got put into that space of having to move to this really expensive area. And then 4 months later, they have now lost their job after being first to foot. So a lot of people that were like, I just signed a lease, I just bought a house, et cetera, et cetera. I'm now fucked. I am now supremely, you're just fucked. Because like, what do you do in that situation where you just moved your whole family and uprooted them into a really expensive area, and now you don't have that job that could pay those bills now? Super shitty. Super, super shitty. I'm sure they gave some kind of severance. I'm sure it's not enough. It never is.
Exactly.
So that's kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's such a weird thing to talk about in the sense that, like, I wonder if anyone was given any notice at all. I mean, like, obviously, like you were saying, people had to have known that some things were going to change, obviously, with this huge merger. I don't know if anyone thought this would happen.
So the answer to your question, shorthand, is no. They were not giving any notice. They were given so little notice that a lot of them found out on Twitter and started reaching out to the news reporters that were reporting on this information to figure out whether or not they were affected. That's how bad this was.
No.
That people that worked there were like, hey, What department did you hear about getting fired? Because I'm not sure if
Right.
that's me.
And also, my key code doesn't work now.
Right. So it's that kind of
Oh,
situation.
yeah.
So that's how badly they did it. That it was not even like we're hearing little like rumblings and stuff, and like we've known for a few weeks, and we're trying to set up things. Like, no, they had no idea, and a lot of people learned from Twitter, and that's egregious. That's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, and like, I guess my question to you, which is there's a simple answer to this. It won't solve every problem, but it'll help. Is how do you fix this? And it obviously it's no, step one is to unionize.
Yes,
That's easy step number one. That's gonna be very hard to ever happen.
right. And it's like the reason is like kind of interesting of like why do they need to unionize? Because we have so many like corporate spaces where we haven't unionized yet. I work in banking
Right.
where we're not unionized in fucking banking, but I don't fear job security nearly as much as game dev, which is such an interesting thing because as we know, game dev has made more money than movies, TVs,
Mm-hmm.
music all combined. Gaming is in the best place it's ever been ever, and it's an incredibly lucrative business. So a big thing for me is kind of like figuring out why did this happen. A big reason it happened was still COVID. A lot of people don't really think that anymore because obviously, we've quote unquote passed it. At this point, we've watched really good
Right.
games come out and make a ton of money, but COVID is still kind of having a hinge on things like inflation. So that is the big reason why a lot of this has happened. And that's because gaming spaces are extra greedy. They are way greedier than movies and TV and other spaces, and that they really want to expand as far as they can because it's just a fast expanding space. Oh, gaming's what existed for maybe 40 years. It's a very young media compared to like movies and TV and music and stuff like that. So because of that, it grows so
Yeah.
exponentially, and that's created kind of an issue in itself. In that 2020 rates for loans were really, really low because no one was getting loans because no one had fucking money. Game
Mm.
dev took super big, like huge risk on that and was like, we're gonna use these loans. This interest rates are 1%. Let's fucking go. So they overhired like shit, and they were like, we got to get these games fucking out. That's probably a big reason why we had really, really good games come out in 2023. A lot of game devs were allotted a little bit more time than they probably normally would have, where games would have come out in 2020 and bid, 6 out of 10s. They came out in 2023.
Right.
They actually had, for the first time in a long time, the ability to sit there and polish them, which we know that's a big thing as well, as game dev has a lot of issues with crunch. And that's kind of a big thing there. So going from that is seeing those interest rates and that kind of stuff with loans and whatever the fuck going on with that. They did that, and then they found out that like, oh, we finished the game. We have 300 more employees than we probably should have for the space, and we have no more games to come out. We got to start firing.
What do we do?
Right. And also, we got to pay back these loans, and the interest rates have skyrocketed to 10,000% compared to what they were in 2020. So now people are scrambling. And that is why game dev is firing so indiscriminately. And that's what's kind of causing the issue right now.
It's also a bad look because this just came after their big little mini showcase they had last week, where they showed off the Indiana Jones game and all those whatever from those like 5 different studios and stuff. Because man, if they had reversed those orders, oh boy, people would have been like, y'all didn't say nothing. Y'all fired 19, nearly 2,000 people, and y'all just okay. Here you go. Here, look at these games that are coming out this year from
right.
Yeah, I want to say there's a bright side to this. Not a bright side, but like a bright future to maybe this ending somehow. I guess the question is like, when does it end? Like how many more studios is
right? This specific point right here is going to we're going to feel it for at least the next couple years. I feel like probably 2025 might be the earliest that this will start ending, where it's like we're having mass layoffs like this.
Right.
But also, I don't know enough about kind of what the space looks like as a whole, just because I don't work in game dev to know for a fact, because like a big thing that like existed, over the past 5, 6, 7 years has been like games as a service. Games as a service caused a big issue and rift in game dev because a lot of people were like, well, we need a lot of people to work on this game. Then the game fails for whatever reason, or they stop working on that game, so they have to fire people because they hired all these people with the idea of they will be working here for the foreseeable future. But unfortunately, we don't know whether or not a game's going to be good at launch. And it's kind of like a crapshoot of whether or not what I made was good. If it's good, I'll be working here for 7, 8, 9 years. If it's bad, I'm packing my bag right now. So that's been a space that we've kind of dealt with for a while. Now that we're kind of getting away from games as a service, it kind of feels like what's kind of the next era of gaming. What do investors feel comfortable investing in right now? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I feel like as long as Fortnite's alive, people are gonna try to make the next Fortnite. It's
Right.
so Fortnite was a great and terrible thing to this to the industry.
Because I mean, you're absolutely right. Because like, as far as an investor standpoint, it's like you don't play video games. Is you're gonna be, I want that. You're gonna look at that and be like,
Right.
I want to invest in that. So you're gonna look at a game that's like, some random ass fucking, I don't know, Pokemon Go Future, whatever the fuck. And you're gonna be like, I want that game to last forever. And that's what you put your money in. And a lot of people keep saying that they can like give you that. I mean, Halo Infinite's a great example about that. We talked about that news section of like, that shows what happens when you're not able to give what you promised. And that game was in development hell.
Yeah.
That game went through a huge cycle of people just getting, going in and out the door over and over and over again because they really abused contractors in that. They would not hire full time to be a game dev in 343. Instead, they hired contractors for 18 months. When you hit that 18th month, you're out. We'll get new people. That was a super huge issue.
Right.
So things like that have caused a lot of issue in those kinds of games. And then it ends up with a product that just doesn't fit the bill. And then it's like, now what do you do? A lot of those people got fired. 343 had a huge management change, and a lot of people lost their jobs over that. Another Microsoft studio. So see that? I don't know. Just see that sucks. And I think the worst thing about it is what's so funny about it is it's like, if you go to school, get a bachelor's degree, and say programming, if you go into game dev because you're interested in game dev, you want to be a game developer, you want to be a programmer of, say, I don't know, levels, you're automatically taking probably like a $70,000 to $100,000 pay cut already in working in that space. And then on top of that, you also don't have any job security. Why the fuck would you want to be a game dev? You can literally go in any other space and make so much more money with the skills that you have. But people do it because they're passionate about it, because they're artists.
I was literally going to say, like, speaking as an artist of some kind, like, yeah, why go to school thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to be broke for a long time. And you still do it. It's insanity. It's insanity.
It's so funny because like Activision Blizzard, especially even before they got acquired by Microsoft, was like known as like, it was called like the Blizzard pay cut back in the day before they even got like bought by Activision.
Oh,
because
shit.
You were basically sacrificing pay for having the notoriety of being part of Blizzard. Like that was important for your resume of being like, I worked on a Blizzard game. But because of that, you are oftentimes taking a pretty significant pay cut, even in the gaming like industry. So add that into the fact that it's like, I can just go and work for like, I don't know, a computer science company that like makes, I don't know, firewall software. You are going to make more money and probably have more job security in that space. So it's so sad. Like so many people have dreams like that and they abuse that dream to make money because they know those people. I mean, it's I guess it's kind of the same issue as like even in your field and like, acting and things like that, where it's like every time that you vouch for yourself or like, put boundaries for yourself, they have 18 other motherfuckers that look exactly like you willing to take a pay cut, not make anything. Like SAG, for example, you're a SAG worker and whatnot. And like, you do good work or whatever. There's going to be 18 people that are non-SAG that are going to be like, they're going to be a fraction of the price that are willing to kill themselves for that job. So that's why they don't pay SAG workers. Because why would they? You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's real shitty. But like on one hand, you understand it because also people are trying to survive. People are trying to survive.
Exactly.
But it sucks. It sucks, and it's a gross position that people are put in a lot of the time. And just continuing the conversation, you had mentioned earlier how like some games are like not going to come out from this. One of them being how from these cutoffs we learned that, or at least reported via Twitter, via people on Twitter talking about this survival game that Blizzard was making called Odyssey, reportedly, is no longer a thing. Just dead in the water.
Straight candid.
Yo, you were talking about it when you were saying how like investors talking about like trying to put money towards this game because they think it'll last forever, and sometimes not because they just no, like this, for example, just will never see the light of day because of this.
I'll be really interested to see what comes out around the development hell that game went through, because it wasn't actually announced until maybe like last year, maybe late 2022, and we saw some mock-ups or anything like that, but we saw no gameplay. And people were super excited about it. And then it just went radio silent for a long ass time. Similar to kind of like what happened with Overwatch 2. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that. another thing I think a lot of people don't understand about this space is when games don't come out, you generally aren't able to use them on your resume. And that really fucking sucks because of
Oh,
NDAs.
yeah. No, that makes sense. That
So
sucks.
say you're a level artist or like a world artist or something like that, and you made a bunch of world art for this specific game. If this game doesn't come out, you don't get
You
to
can't
put that
show it.
on your resume.
Nope.
And because of
Nope.
like it's not in your portfolio. And that's another shitty thing about game dev, where it's like that can happen where you can spend 6 years of your fucking life working tooth and nail on something and you'll never be able to show it. You'll
Never.
never be able to show it.
Yeah.
And that's so
Damn,
that's
I
so
didn't think about that.
shit.
That
Yeah,
fucking blows.
that's a really big thing that a lot of people don't think about when you go into those kinds of spaces. It's like, yeah, that's a really huge issue of like, yeah, say you're a music
Wow.
composer. You made music, this beautiful music for fucking World of Warcraft 2. Shit got canned.
Right.
Someone's like, yo,
No
when's
one's
the last
gonna
time you
fucking-
worked on a game? Wasn't this 6 years I spent working on World of Warcraft 2? I can't show you that.
And it's scary because a lot of those times as well, like that person doesn't even own what they worked on, so they don't even get to. They don't get it.
They don't get it
themselves,
either
you
way.
know?
Yeah, no matter what. So you have to kind of just make your own shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's despicable. I hate that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's really sad that that's not coming out. And I'm interested to see where that story kind of lands because I know Overwatch 2 went through some really tough stuff. So if this game
Yeah.
didn't show anything, I guess they were just like, it's not worth it at this point. I don't know. I guess it wasn't coming to fruition, whatever their vision was.
Yeah. Rounding out this Microsoft talk, the one added point that I did say that came at the worst time was that Microsoft became the second ever $3 trillion company. What an announcement after you laid off. nearly
You said
2,000
$3 trillion?
$3 trillion. Second ever, only to Apple, I believe.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep. And they just laid off nearly 2,000 people.
And that's 2,000 people. I can't fathom enough about like how many people that is.
$3 trillion. And they laid off 2,000 people.
Fortnite, Unreal Engine, they all fucking laid off people too. Fucking Epic Games. They did
Yeah.
900 at the end of last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that big one. Yeah.
And they're a powerhouse, and when it comes to money, like they're back on Apple Store again. Speaking of which,
Oh yeah.
my real final saying of it is that you gotta unionize. You gotta vouch for yourselves. You
Yeah.
gotta fight for yourselves, because otherwise you're just gonna keep ending up in this situation. That's not to say that it's anyone's fault at that level of being a
Right.
developer and having a dream and to want to make video games, because you make amazing work and you deserve the rights that you have. But if you don't do that, you're just gonna keep getting fucked. And this space is gonna die as fast as it came to be if this keeps happening, because I don't know. This isn't fair. This isn't fair to artists.
No, it's not. Tough place to be in, and obviously we hope all those people land on their feet somehow in some way.
Yeah, I think that was the saddest thing, is seeing so many tweets of people being like, yes, I was one of the people that got laid off, looking for work if you have any leads. And it's like, damn,
Right.
those are just people, you know? Like,
Those are people that like clearly corporations, they don't care because their names on a list to most of those people that are sitting in them offices.
the talent is too high for the care to be so low.
Exactly. I mean, and like continuing past Microsoft, this was also coming out this week that Raycon Games, apparently they laid off 60 to 70% or 80 or 60 to 70 people, which was roughly 80% of their workforce. This is according to Kotaku. Obviously not a huge company, but still sucks. Still something.
What
still
they make? Outriders?
60 to 70 people that they made a game called Ruiner, which I have no idea what that is. The studio had just announced a new project in 2021, so clearly something's been going off with that one, and something bad happened. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do if I was in that space. Something has to change. Game studios have to move and stop being in those spaces that Hollywood and stuff like that exist. Unionizing has to happen.
Yeah.
It's just so unaffordable to do those kinds of things. Like, I don't understand how you can expect someone to work for your company if they don't make enough money to even afford a home in the area that you're based in. But then you expect them to go back to work in office.
Right.
I just be for real. So many good games came out during COVID, so I just don't think it's a good excuse to say that you work better in office and then you fired all those people 4 months later. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Continuing, fucking this was the one you were talking about, actually. Outriders and the Bulletstorm developer, People Can Fly, they laid off more than 30 staff members. Again, these are small scale things, but these numbers, they add up. And they're like, I in my head, like the worst thought possible would be like, I wonder if they did this now. As soon as they saw that Microsoft one, they're like, yo, we should do this now because ours ain't gonna look as bad as
right,
2,000
right.
people.
No one's gonna talk about it because we
No wonder.
silently, quickly just let those people go. Yeah. I do think a lot of companies do that. They look for those big things. They're like, yeah, this is the time. Go on, get ahead, pack up your
Slide under the
bag. Yeah, go ahead,
radar.
pack up your
Yeah.
bag.
It sucks. And it's
Yes. That part right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a good mini doc on why game prices going up more is not what is going to make the game industry better. Or it's the same thing of like a McDonald's hamburger is not going to cost $8 more because you pay people $15 an hour. It's that kind of situation,
oh,
and that's why games cost $60 for so long before they just finally raise it to $70. It's
right.
because it doesn't actually directly affect creating games. So it was kind of interesting to kind of look into that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I might rewatch it again, and we might have to talk about it at a later date. But it's really interesting to see how like
Yeah.
how games are made, why games are made, and what kind of goes into like how games get the budget that they do. And a lot of it does not have to do like sales. Yes, do matter to investors, but as far as like production of games costing $60, not much of that actually goes back to the developer by any means. Thinking about like Super Mario 64 cost $50, and that game came out in '95.
Right. Right.
And then Final Fantasy X, which came out 10 years later, came out, and that was $60, just $10 more, despite inflation being rabid between those 10 years, And now
Right.
today,
Yeah,
Baldur's Gate 3 still costs $60, only $10 more
Right.
than Super Mario 64, which came out 20 years ago, 30 years ago, actually.
Yeah, 30 years ago. Yeah. I don't know. I want to say this is the end of this trend, but it's probably not. Very much how like the actors and writers strike happened last year. We maybe a big change is coming for this industry, and hopefully it'll happen this year.
I think it has to. I think it has to get, which is so funny because Blizzard actually unionized or tried to unionize, at least at the QA level, and it still happened to them. It has to get worse before it gets better. So hopefully this is the worst before the better.
Yes, hopefully. Alrighty, Brian, that was the news-ish. So that's also our main topic. So
it was something.
It was something. Shall we move on to our final segment of the week?
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm upset about it.
A segment we like to call Free for All listeners, title pending. This is a segment where we kind of do whatever we want. Talk about a day, talk about a life, fight, nap, argue, do whatever we want. It is free for all. I can very quickly go first because I'm continuing the trend from last week where I'm still rattling off things that happened over the holiday break because I watched a lot of shit during that time off. I'm going to talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Aquaman.
I'm not going to really spoil it because it's Aquaman too.
What's the
fine.
spoil? None of that shit matters. That's the spoiler.
That's what I'm saying. Nothing matters. I will say, if you enjoyed the first one, you're probably going to enjoy this one. It's more dumb fun. I don't think it's as bad as people were saying it was. Momoa's still cheesing it up. I think Patrick Wilson's the only one actually acting in this movie. He's really good and fun. I like that they gave Black Manta his spotlight as the one and only villain. Finally, he's still good. Shout out to Yaya. He deserves more. Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was a good time. Again, it was probably because I had low expectations. Also because this universe is dead now. It doesn't really matter. Who cares? It's just a fun movie. It's a fun ride. And I could, if this movie came out in like 2004, people would have fucking loved it. You know what I mean?
It would have been Spider-Man level.
This is the equivalent to like Fantastic Four. No, it's not as good. No, not Spider-Man level. Maybe the Fantastic Four. But yeah, so it was a fun, good time when I watched it however many weeks ago, probably like a month ago at this point. But
did
yeah,
it do
well?
It was a good time. I didn't want to cut you off, but did it do well?
I don't think so
because it fell under the radar for me completely. Like since we took the break, we weren't talking about it, and like I saw nothing in regards to like marketing for it.
Oh, dude, I don't even think they had a premiere. I think they just like Warner Brothers didn't even want to pay for a premiere like red carpet for this movie. I'm like, that's so fucked. That's so cold. Damn.
Right.
Bit of a bummer, but and a bit of a literal wet fart to end this universe on. Man, what a weird 10 years that this universe existed. Literal 10 years from Man of Steel to Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
And this is that's insane.
Oh, yeah. Insane. It did not do super great. It had a budget of 205 to 215, and then made a box office of 412 million.
It probably had more budget than that because this movie was reshot like 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like the fact that like marketing and stuff, which it sounds like they didn't do that much. Maybe they didn't spend like the same amount of money for it, but like
Maybe,
it like
maybe,
maybe just skirted by on making like a tiny profit.
maybe. Let's hope so. Oh, remember when they canceled Batgirl? Yeah, damn.
Maybe go ahead and release that. Release the tapes.
Right? And then the other thing I watched was Echo, the Disney Marvel TV show, 5 episodes. They released it all in one day. This show, again, didn't really expect much. Thought it would be, fine. Very reminiscent of the Netflix shows, and I think a decent way, not in like this fucking sucks now. One, much like Aquaman, this show got butchered in the editing room. I think this was originally supposed to be 8 episodes, maybe. They had to butcher it down to 5, which is, there's moments where you can absolutely tell. I will say, once again, the fucking endings of these shows are absolute trash. I looked at the runtime. I was like, as soon as I saw it was like 36 minutes, I was like, this is going to be dumb and really bad and rushed. And boy, was it. Potentially one of the worst endings. Like literally the last like 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, we're not even going to talk about what just happened. Just no epilogue, no. Oh, credits. Done. Okay.
They said, get this shit out the door.
Really weird. But I want to talk about it because I think it's important because what's her name? I think it's pronounced Alakwa. If I'm saying that correct. I think it's Alakwa Cox who plays Echo. I think she's a fucking standout. I think she does a really good job, and she's got a really good performance in it. I will say, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. Obviously, Kingpin is back. I love the two of them together whenever they're in the same room and talking and whatever. I really enjoyed it. I wish there was more. I loved all the cultural things that were going on throughout this TV show. I really vibed with it. But again, I think the ending was just kind of lackluster. I think there were some really cool moments in it. I think it's a pro and con that it was 5 episodes and I was able to binge this in like a day and a half. I was like, all right, cool. I'm done. Wipe my hands. Don't have to worry about it no more. And yeah, I want to see more of Echo in the future. I don't know what capacity, either season 2 or as like a 3 episode arc in Daredevil's new show coming out at some point, whatever. But yeah, I think she's too good to waste, and I hope that people have seen that because she is good. She's good. She's really good.
Yeah, I hope they realize that at Marvel and do something with it and not just like give up on it, because it kind of sounds like they were giving up on it pretty quickly when they put it on both Hulu and Disney, and they put it on immediately. That was the first Marvel show to put out everything as a whole since they made Disney Plus. So I was like, they don't believe in this shit.
No.
And I doubt the watch was super strong. I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to watch it. I do plan on watching it. So I'm glad to hear it's not the worst thing ever. After Secret Invasion, I am pretty burned.
It's better than Secret Invasion. It is better than Secret Invasion.
That is not hard to do, but I'm glad that it is.
No.
But word. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Echo. I hope we see you do some other cool shit. And as usual, shout out to God of War Ragnarok. Brian, what you got for us this week?
Boo. I have an interesting video game to talk about, which I'm sure you've heard the buzz around this game.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And that I have
We're talking about fake Pokemon, baby.
Pokemon. We got Pokemon at home, and this is Pokemon. I'm talking about Power World. That game, a game that I literally had zero interest in playing whatsoever when I first saw that trailer a few years back, but it's finally come out and everyone is rabid about this game and I got forced to download it.
Pokemon with guns, baby.
I've now played it. First and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that like people are complaining that it's, stealing too much IP from Pokemon itself. Potentially could be made with artificial intelligence, all this other shit. Those are all rumors. Most of those things are pretty unfounded. I will say that some of the Pokemon, or some of the pals, they call them pals, not Pokemon, do resemble. Yeah, they do resemble some popular Pokemon that you may know. And it's coming from someone that is not super into Pokemon, so I do not know many outside the original 151. But I still can notice that, like, I know a Pokemon that looks like that. You know what I mean?
You sent us a fucking like TikTok about the dude talking about that's Black Lucario, and he's like, "Nah, what are you talking about?"
that's Anubis.
So funny.
It's not Black Lucario. That's Anubis.
That's Anubis.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty egregious.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough go for them. That aside, I hate and don't hate this game, and I'm gonna talk about why.
Brian, have you gotten your first gun yet?
Oh, absolutely. I got my gun pretty.
Okay.
And that's what's so disjointed about this game. The guns are so unnecessary. And I think is honestly one of the least fun parts about the game. Because it's just so, there's no rhyme or reason for it. So what they're kind of trying to do, I don't know if you've ever heard of the game Ark with the dinosaurs. You know, Ark 2 is supposed to come out someday.
Yeah.
But it hasn't yet. It's giving that kind of situation where it's supposed to be kind of like a technology advancement kind of simulation of it's a survival game. Let me say that first and foremost.
Right.
So if you play like Minecraft or Rust or Ark, any games like that, it's very much that game. And then they also add like a kind of like Pokemon Legends of Arceus kind of aspect to it, where it's kind of open world. The Pokemon are roaming around the world, things like that. They put that into it. One of the big parts about it is like the technology tree that they have, where it's like based on how you level up, you can unlock like more technology that's like more advanced. So you start out like you're using wood and spears and bows and arrows and things like that. Eventually, you start unlocking metal and, you know, electricity.
Minecraft.
Yeah, and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, okay, well now, like, you know, we have conveyor belts and shit like that. Like that's what they're trying to do.
Right.
It's really disjointed.
This sounds like one of them games you gotta fucking have a second window open to figure out how to do all this shit.
To an extent, yes. So the reason that I'm enjoying the game is because it's a chore simulator. Most survival games are chore simulator, where you gotta farm, you gotta, you know, cut some trees down, mine some rocks, shit like that to get anything going. And like, it's mindless. So I enjoy doing those kinds of things. The actual Pokemon part of it is not super interesting to me personally. And one of the issues with it is that AI is fucking garbage. It's fucking stupid. I have a clip that I might send you guys. I might send you guys where it's like, it's so funny that people are complaining so much and fighting over this game, where it's like the gameplay is literally some raiders saying they're raiding my base, and then half of them get stuck halfway up trying to chase to me because the AI just breaks and they just stand still. So then I just poke them with my spear or kill them with my fake Lucario, and they don't do a damn thing. They just break. They just don't exist. It reminds me a lot of fucking Redfall. Yeah. I told you guys about that game that came out from Microsoft, where it's just like sometimes the AI just will stop working and they just won't fight me anymore.
Right.
That happens so often in that game where it's like, this is so fucking janky and stupid.
That's so funny.
So that happens. But outside of that, like the game has some really interesting concepts, and I don't hate it. It's on Game Pass, so that is a reason to like it already. Okay. So I got it on Game Pass. Of course, it's $30 on Steam. Steam, the only thing about Steam is you can get like more people to play on a server together. Game Pass can only have 4, where Steam you have 32.
Damn, that's a big ass difference.
Right. The game is breaking records, dude. It is breaking record after record. It is the current. It's right now the highest played game on Steam right now.
That to me just shows the power of fucking Pokemon, man.
And I think that's really the biggest thing.
Never die.
I think that's really the biggest thing is the fact that like people yearn for this kind of game so much from Pokemon, but Pokemon refuses to make this kind of game. And we all know that Scarlet and Violet was just kind of like a really fucking stinker of a game that barely runs on your fucking, you know, system. So because of that, I think people it was the Splitgate of Halo. Like when Splitgate came out in like 2019, or re-released in 2019, we hadn't have Halo in like 5 years at that point. People were just like, I'm just rabid for a game that's just like a game that I enjoy.
Similar.
Yeah. So because of that, Splitgate did incredibly well during that time, and it didn't get dethroned until Halo Infinite actually came out. I think this is the exact same thing. I think if anything, this is gonna get fucking Pokemon companies steamrolling to be like, Game Freak, make one of these shits.
Make Arceus 2 better.
Right. But it's really funny how I went from like poking people with a spear to being like, oh, you got a little green monkey? Give him an SMG. And I'm like, huh?
How do the guns work?
So the technology aspect is like, that's fine if like you grow into getting metal and like stone and shit like that, and that's fine. But you get guns for your Pokemon way quicker. Or your pals. Let me not say Pokemon. I don't want to get sued. Pals. You get guns and shit for your pals way sooner.
Because you'll get sued for saying it.
Right. Maybe. I don't know. Nintendo and Pokemon company kind of crazy.
That's true.
So I want to keep my shit straight. But it's like one of the first things you see is like you get like Pokemon. It's like a fake Vulpix essentially, and you can put a collar on him. When you put a collar on him, you can just pick him up and use him as a flamethrower. And it's like, that's fine. Whatever. That's fine.
Okay.
And there's another one where it's like you find a monkey. He's a grass POW, where he's grass based, his attacks are grass based. For no reason whatsoever, you can just give him a submachine gun. They don't explain why. They don't say that. That's like his, you know what I mean? Because like the Firefox, it makes sense. Because like, yes, of course he uses fire.
Yeah.
I can pick him up. He spits fire.
He's not like shooting like nuts or some shit like
he
Diddy
shoots
Kong. No,
a
he's just got a
submachine gun with
submachine.
FMJ bullets. He shoots. He shoots. No reason. And I'm just kind of like,
so funny. That's
huh?
So funny.
Okay. And that's like one of the first Pokemon you see. Like it's maybe like the 6th Pokemon you see when you play the game. And it just gets more off the road.
You said Pokemon twice now.
I don't. At this point, if you want to sue me, you don't know my last name. Fuck you. Yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy game.
What a fucking hilarious concept.
Yeah, it's really weird. They seem to be
Guys,
patching it quickly.
Let's just make Pokemon, call them pals, change the colors, and give them guns.
And that's why I was like, I don't care about this game. But they somehow have like struck lightning in a bottle somehow.
It's insane because like we've known this is coming out, and it's insane that like to me it's like I guess Nintendo really doesn't have a case because like again like we've known that this game, we saw a trailer for this game months ago, knew it was coming. Everyone called it Pokemon with guns then, and now it's out. And Nintendo's Game Freak, nothing.
That's
I don't know
thing.
If they are waiting or if they're just like whatever, it's a different market, or we can't touch them, or what.
I think if they had a case, they would have made it by now. They have talked about how like they're looking into it, but I think if they had a case, they would have made it way before this actually came out. Also, I think maybe they thought it was going to be a non-issue because it wasn't going to like come from anywhere. I know, like, of course, Nintendo doesn't own Pokemon Company. I guess they just work with Game Freak. I assume they don't own Game Freak. It's not like a Bungie situation where they're owned by Microsoft. But if it was Nintendo, Nintendo will sue you for fucking nothing. So I think Nintendo, if it was Nintendo, if it was up to Nintendo, they would have sued these motherfuckers' pants off from the moment they dropped their first trailer. But I guess Pokemon Company is more so looking to see what it looks like. And now that it's such a popular game, now they might be trying to get their pennies.
I was about to say, could you imagine if they like did an official team up with them as like a update or some shit and said, you know what, fuck it.
That would be great. That would be the dream, honestly, to just be like, hey, you guys did a cool thing. Let's help make it better. That'd be a dream for
never do it because it's Pokemon with guns, and Nintendo will be like, no.
Sorry, I remember an interesting point in time where they actually, I don't know if in Nintendo, I guess it was Pokemon Company, that actually sued a sex worker, like an OnlyFans worker.
Oh, I remember you telling me this story.
Yeah, her name was like Pokemon Princess or something like that. And they were like, we're not going to let you do that. So they sued her ass until she had to change her name. Yeah, it's like shit like that where it's like they don't play with their IP.
They don't play. No. That's all I was gonna ask. Has there ever been a Mario with guns?
I'm sure someone's made a mod for that. Absolutely.
Has anyone ever tried to do this something like? I mean, Smash is probably the most violent. There's guns in Smash. Actually, like Smash, Fox has a gun. You know.
I'm sure someone's tried. I'm sure it got killed immediately. A dude actually made a Pokemon mod for Power World to turn everything into Pokemon, and your main character is Ash Ketchum. And he said, Nintendo's coming after me. That was within the first week that the game came out. He was like, I made this mod. And he's like, I'm taking down this mod.
That's so insane. That's so...
they don't fuck around when it comes to their money. There's a reason that there's a dude that's still fucking paying. He's got to pay his paycheck for the rest of his life towards Nintendo after fucking stealing from them.
Yep. Oh, but are you gonna keep playing it though?
I'm probably gonna fall off eventually. It's a hyperfixation right now.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, how is there an end game? Like, can you get to a point where you've just built the world?
It's in early access, so they're planning on adding a lot of stuff right now. But it's like I can get to max level now, and then at that point, I'll probably just run out of stuff to do. Right now, I'm at like level 27, 28 out of like 50.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have some friends that want to play, so I'm probably going to start like a new world with them or things like that. So once the kind of like vibe dies off, it's kind of like the Lethal Companies or the, I don't know, other games that kind of like catch wind for like a month and then die out. I feel like it's going to be that kind of game. If they don't keep updates going really hard, it's going to be that
if Nintendo kills it,
So I'll play it until everyone's kind of over it, and then I'll probably just move on with my life.
Until the servers crash.
Yeah. I mean,
what if it's going to pull like a Matrix Online? Everyone's going to celebrate as the server crashes around them.
That could be cute. I'd be into that.
Very nice, man. All right, I like it. Pokemon with guns. Alrighty, listeners, that is our show for the week. Look at that, Brian. We're not a mini-sode. We've done it once again. You can email us, listeners, at thefortress7@gmail.com. Fortress spelled FOUR. For free to email us any feedback, recommendations, questions, or anything like that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at The Fortress of. You Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Follow the 3 Bollywood R's. Rate, recommend, and review us to anyone and everyone you know. Thank you, Jackie, for helping out the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the art, Alex for the music, and Devin, thank you for being here even when you're not here. You can find Brian on Instagram at ITC_, by the way, Alex at Peterson Films, and Devin at on a date night. At date night.
Date night.
Happy date night, Devin.
Happy date night.
Next week, who knows? Something will happen. Hopefully nothing terrible in the world. Please. Please. As usual, listeners, happy holidays and put a coat on. It's cold out there.
Just kidding. Global warming is killing us all.
It was 70 degrees like 2 days ago. There was still snow on the ground. This world is fucked. All right, listeners. We'll see you here next week on another episode on the Fourtress of...
Hell yeah. Aquaman.